Alrighty. So we'll begin our review of Act 1 of A Midsummer's Night Dream by doing, again, a little bit of vocabulary review. Who remembers what austerity means? Or who has seen this word before? Has anybody heard of austerity? Okay. Austerity means something like simple or very plain. Okay. How about the word beguile? Guile. Whoops. I'm trying to write not the word. Yeah, it's very close to what somebody sent me in the chat. So it's something like to charm someone in a deceptive way. Okay. Yeah, feel free to send me your guests in the chats. They're quite good. How about the word cloister? Does anyone have the word cloister? Kind of means to be secluded or like seclude. Okay. How about the word dote? Is anyone familiar with this word? So, for example, if someone says he is doting after her, um, that kind of means like to be very fond of. Okay. How about extenuate? You might have seen this word um in its present tense, like extenuating. It just means to excuse something or like to make excuses for. I'm sure you guys I've heard the word feign. Who knows what the word feign means? Feel free to drop it in the chat. Yeah, someone said to pretend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. To pretend. How about idolatry? Maybe you guys have seen the word idol before. Worship of idols. And then last word for today is reveling. Reveling means kind of like to enjoy something. It's like if you're reveling at, I don't know, a party, that means you're enjoying the experience of the party. Alrighty. So these are vocab words. Does anybody have any questions on any of these words? Or maybe were there other words in the text that um, you maybe didn't know the definition of or just wanted more clarification? Okay. I would say 6 and 7 you might have heard before, but the rest might be like good words to introduce. So for example, I think your teachers would be very impressed if you use the word austerity, because this is a word that I don't know if I learned until I was in college. So I think they would be very impressed. And then beguile is also a good word for the play, as you all have seen. Okay, and then here are some of the other definitions in case you don't like these. I also put some alternate ones here. Okay, so I wanted to take a deeper look. I have a couple questions on Act 1, Scene 1. So pay attention. So I'm going to ask you this question. So you'll see Lysander calls Hermia's speech a good persuasion. I'm going to ask you about sort of ethos, logos, and pathos. Before I do that, I realized so I would focus more on the first question instead of this. You can ignore the second question. But ethos, logos, and pathos. Who knows what these things are? Or who has seen this before, maybe in other English classes? Okay, so basically these three things are Greek terms, and there are ways that sort of we can make a convincing argument. So for example, logos appeals to the audience's reasons, so building up logical arguments. So for example, if you ever hear a teacher talking about like statistics or data, this would be an example of logos or like appealing to your reason, to your rationality. Um, Ethos appeals to sort of your credentials. So for example, um, let's say you end up going to, I don't know, like a really good Chinese college. Just say you end up going to Tsinghua. If you and you're giving a speech to somebody or you're talking to somebody, and the first thing that you say is like, "Oh, I graduated from Tsinghua and I got a master's in, I don't know, math from there." So what you're doing there is you're appealing to your own status or authority. So by saying that you have this credential and you went to this like really impressive university, the audience is more likely to trust whatever you say. So that's ethos. And the last thing is pathos or pathos. So pathos is appealing to somebody's emotion. So for example, let's say you're giving a speech and you tell a really sad story. This would be an example of pathos because you're trying to like grab at the heartstrings of a person or you're trying to appeal to their emotions. So we're going to read Act 1, Scene 1. I want you to pay attention to see if you can figure out where Hermia's speech includes examples of ethos, logos, or pathos. And then we're going to spend some time sort of picking act quotes that seem to fit into those categories. Okay, so we'll be reading Act 1, Scene 1. Again, it's a pretty short act. So we have a bunch of parts. So I was hoping you guys could help me out and just read out the parts. I have the play online and I'll screen share, so don't worry if you don't have the book yet. But if you do, you can follow along. So I'm gonna have you guys be actors for a bit. Who wants to be Theseus? Feel free to like raise your hand or just tell me in the chat. Okay, Darren will be Theseus. How about Hippolyta? Who wants to be Hippolyta? Okay. I'll wait until I have somebody because you guys really don't want me to read all these parts. I promise it's much more fun when you're able to read the parts and sort of have your classmates read the parts with you. Okay. Any takers for Hippolyta? It's not that big of most of these are not that big of a speaking role just because there's so many people. You don't have to talk a ton. Okay, Cheryl, thank you so much for being brave. Um, how about Philostrate? Who wants to be Philostrate? Okay, Emily will be Philostrate. Does anybody want to be Aegeus? Patrick will be Aegeus. Who wants to be Hermia? Anybody want to be Hermia? Please, somebody be Hermia. You have an important part and a fun part. Because remember, it is your speech that we'll be analyzing. Okay, thank you so much, Christina. So Christina will be Hermia. So pay attention when Christina talks because we'll be analyzing that speech later. Yes, if there's any vocabulary you don't know, um give it your best try, or if you want to skip it, I can try to read it too. Okay, Lysander. Who wants to be Lysander? Anybody wants to be Lysander? Okay, we have three parts left. Lysander, Demetrius, and Helena. So feel free to chat me if you don't already have a role to which of these three you would like to be. Lysander is also an important, let's see. Okay, Emma will be Lysander. So we have two more. We have Demetrius and Helena. These are smaller parts. So if you would like, if you don't already have a part, wait, let me just make sure we're not running out of people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we have two more parts, Demetrius and Helena. I think everybody might have to participate. So if you haven't, um, please let me know which one of these you would like. Okay, please chat me. Again, I promise you guys don't want me to read all the parts because it gets pretty boring when I do it. So Demetrius or Helena, please chat me if you don't already have a part with which one of those you would prefer. Okay. People may be shy, so I will just do it. But in the future, I would like people to participate because again, it's just much more fun that way. All right. So remember your parts because I'll be screen sharing the play. So let me just write this down for myself. So I'm four people. Um, I will be Demetrius, Helena, Bottom, and Kinsey. Okay, that's doable. Okay, so to give a brief overview of what is happening in this scene, basically Theseus, who is the Duke of Athens, so kind of like the mayor of Athens, is planning the festivities for his upcoming wedding to this woman Hippolyta. Aegeus arrives with his daughter Hermia and her two suitors, Lysander, which is the man that Hermia wants to marry, versus Demetrius, which is the man that her father wants her to marry. So Aegeus demands that Theseus enforce Athenian law upon Hermia and execute her if she refuses to marry Demetrius, which is the guy her father wants her to marry, Theseus threatens Hermia with either lifelong chastity or death if she continues to disobey her father. Lysander and Hermia make plans to flee Athens, and they reveal their plan to Helena, Hermia's friend. So Helen is actually in love with Demetrius. So to win Demetrius' favor, Helena decides to tell him about Lysander and Hermia's planned elopement. Okay, so starts off, we have Theseus, Hippolyta, and Philostrate. So Theseus, do you want to kick us off? In case you guys want to look at. Okay, Theseus is Darren, Hippolyta is Cheryl, Emily is Philostrate. Please remember your roles, by the way, because I won't be flipping back and forth. Aegeus is Patrick, Hermia is Christina, and Lysander is Emma. So we'll start with Darren, who is Theseus. So go back to the slide. Okay. Darren, do you want to kick us off?
So I just read it, right?
Yeah, you just read it.
Okay. Now, fair how do you say it?
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta, our nuptial hour draws on apace. 4 happy days bring in another moon. But, oh, met things, how slow this old moon wanes. She lingers her desire, like to a stepdam to a dowager, long withering out a young man's revenue.
4 days will quickly steep themselves in night, 4 nights will quickly dream away at a time, and then the moon like a silver bow, new bent in heaven, shall behold the night of our solemnities.
Go Philostrate, stir up the Athenian youth to merriments, awake the pert and nimble spirit of mirth, turn melon
Yeah.
how do you
Melancholy?
say that?
Melancholy?
Melancholy forth to funerals, the pale companion is not for our pomp. Hippolyta, I wooed thee with my sword, and won thy love during the injury, but I will wed thee in another key, with pomp, with triumph, and with reveling.
Happy Theseus, our renowned Duke.
Thanks. Good Aegeus. What's the news with
Full of vexation come with a complaint against my child. My daughter Hermia stands forth. Demetrius, my noble lord, this man hate my consent of marrying her. Stand forth, Lysander and my gracious Duke. This man hath bewitched those bosom of my child. Though do Lysander, though giving me the rhythm and interchange love tokens with my child. Those has by moonlight at her window sung with forging voice verse of forging love and stole the impression of her fantasy with bracelets and they hair ring concerts, cakes, truffles, no sweet messengers of strong prevailment, and unhardened in the youth, with crooning haste, though flesh my daughter's heart, turned her obedience with the due, which is due to me, the stubborn harshness, and my gracious Duke. Be it so she will not. Here before you grace consists of Mary with Demetrius. I beg the ancient privilege of Athens, as she is mine. I may dispose of her, which shall be either to be this gentleman or her death, according to our law immediately provided in that case.
What say you, Hermia? Be advised, fair maid. To you, your father should be as a god, one that composed your beauties, yea, and one, to whom you are but as a form in wax, to him imprinted and within his power to leave the figure or disfigure it. Demetrius is a worthy gentleman.
So is Lysander.
In himself he is, but in this kind wanting your father's voice, the other must be held the worthier.
I would my father look, but with my eyes.
Rather your eyes must be with his judgment look.
I do entreat your grace to pardon me. I know not by what power I am made bold, nor how it may concern my modesty. In such a presence here to plead my thoughts, but I beseech your grace that I may know the worst that may befall me in this case, if I refuse to wed Demetrius.
Either to die the death or to abjure forever the society of men. Therefore, fair Hermia, question your desires. Know from your youth, examine well your blood, whether, if you yield not to your father's choice, you can endure the livery of a nun. For I to be in the shadiest cloister mute, to live a barren sister all your life, chanting faint hymns to the cold fruitless moon. Thrice blessed they that masters show their blood, to undergo such maiden pilgrimage. But earlier happy is the rose distilled, than that which, withering on the virgin thorn, grows, lives, and dies in single bless.
So aloe rose, so live, so die, my lord. Here I will use my version of pardon unto his lordship, whose unwished you. My soul consent not to give
Sovereignty.
sovereignty.
Take time to pause, and by the next new moon, the sealing day be betwixt my love and me, for everlasting bond of fellowship. Upon that day either prepare to die, for disobedience to your father's will, or else to wed Demetrius, as he would. Or on Diana's altar to protest, for austerity and single life.
Relent, sweet Hermia, and Lysander yield thy crazed title to my certain right.
You have her father's love, Demetrius. Let me have Hermias. Do you marry him, Idjit? Do marry him.
Scornful Lysander, true, his health my love, and what is mine my love shall reminder him, and she is mine, and all my right of her I do unstay unto Demetrius.
I am, my lord, as well did right as he, as well persist. My love is more than his, my fortunes every way as fairly ranked, if not vantage, as Demetrius, and which is more than all these boasts can be, I am beloved of Beatrice Hermina. Why should not I then persecute my right, Demetrius? I avouch it to his head, made love to Nidar's daughter, Helena, and won her soul, and she, sweet lady, dotes in Diodor thee upon despoted and inconstant man.
Okay, we're running out of time a little bit, so I'm going to fast forward to Hermia's speech. Mm. Let me look up the keyword. A good persuasion. So we'll read right before a good persuasion. A good. Okay, so we'll start from the top of this page. So Hermia, take it away.
Oh, sorry. Oaths by until to be engaged too young.
Lysander?
Or else it stood upon the choice of friends.
Oh, hell, to choose love by another's eye.
Or if there was a symphony in choice, where death or sickness did lay siege to it, make it momentary as a sound, swift as a shadow, short as any dream, brief as the lightning in the cold night, that in the sleeping unfolds both heaven and earth, and near a man hath power to say, behold, the jaws of darkness do devour it. It's up, so quick, bright things come to confusion.
Or if then true lovers have been ever crossed, is then as an
It stands as an edict and destiny.
And then let us teach our
Trial, patience.
trial patience, because it is a similar course as due to love, as thoughts and dreams and signs, wishes and tears, poor fancies follows.
A good persuasion. Therefore, hear me, Hernia. I have a little aunt, a dowager of great reviews, and she hates no child. For Athens is her house remote 7 leagues, as she respects me as her only son. Dear gentle Hermina, may I marry thee, and to that place the sharp Athenian law cannot purse us. If thou lovest me, then steal forth thy father's house tomorrow night, and in the wood, without the town, where I did meet thee once with Helena to upswersen to a morn of May, then I will stay for thee.
Good. Okay, we'll stop there because I know we're running out of time. But who kind of understands what's going on in Act 1? Or like what is Lysander and Hermia sort of talking about or planning here? Does anybody have a guess?
So maybe like Harima is supposed to be in love with another person, but she loves Lysander, and they're deciding to escape, or maybe they're just like going to another place. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, great, Emma. I also had somebody tell me in the chat, seems like they're gonna escape. Yeah, exactly. So this is like Hermia's big speech, and Lysander says a good persuasion, which basically just means like, she's able to persuade him to kind of like run away. Um, so so they're saying like, Hermia, like, let's get married. If you love me, then you'll steal forth thy father's house. If you love me, then you'll leave your father's house tomorrow, and we'll go into the woods. So that's basically the plot, and like I think the main part of Act One. So Act One kind of sets up what's to come in the next acts, but basically they'll both run away and like try to get married because remember Hermia is supposed to marry Demetrius, um, which is so Demetrius is her father's choice to marry, but she's actually in love with Lysander. So they're both planning to escape. That's basically what's going on here. So yeah, great job. Let's see. Go back to our slides. There's another question I wanted to ask you guys about. Well, we'll skip this for now because we already talked a little bit about it. But we sort of see like this generational conflict in this scene, right? So it concerns sort of like, remember last time I had a bunch of themes or I had a bunch of statements and one of them where I asked you guys was, do you think it's fair for um you to marry somebody for love or not for love? And also, do you think it's fair for your parents to have a say in who you date or who you marry? So this is actually one of the central themes in A Midsummer Night's Dream. So right in Act 1, Scene 1, we see the sort of right of fathers to determine the marriage partners of their daughters. So essentially, in this play, a person's father can pick who you're going to marry, versus the right of young women to consent to marriage. So again, although Hermia, so let me write this. So Hermia's dad wants her to marry Demetrius, but Hermia wants to marry Lysander. So I was just curious to sort of connect it back to like the present day. So this used to be so this is still very common in some cultures. I was curious to hear, are any of these traditions sort of still a presence, like still have some presence in your own community or traditions? Or do you usually find it that within your culture, it's okay for like people to pick who they want to marry versus parents to pick who they want their kids to marry? So, for example, in some Indian cultures, your parents can still pick who you marry. Um, do you guys come from a culture where you can sort of pick who you marry, or do your parents pick who you can marry? Yeah, a lot of people are saying you choose. Um, so my second question is, so it seems like you choose. What advice would you have for Hermia? And do you think her plan to run away with Lysander is a good one? Like, do you think she should respect her father's wishes, or do you think it's okay for her to run away with Lysander? I guess, like, what would you do if you were Hermia? and had this like impossible decision to make. Okay, someone said in the chat that they would run away. Yeah, what do others think? Would you sort of like respect your parents, or would you also run away with sort of the person that you actually wanted to marry? Yeah, a lot of people have sort of nuanced takes. So I'll write down some of your reactions, which I think are very good. So I'll put it in a sticky note. So a lot of people are saying they would run away. Someone else in the chat said this, which I think is really interesting. So someone said, maybe there is an opportunity to maybe talk to the parent to see if he might change his mind. Someone else says, they probably won't run away because that is your dad and there could be future conflict. Like you don't want to make the person who, I don't know, is like feeding you and giving you a roof over your head mad probably, and who is like the mayor of Athens. Maybe you don't want to get the mayor of Athens mad at you. Yeah, does anybody have any other thoughts besides these two things? And other people just say, like, I would run away. So someone else said I would run away. Does anybody have any other advice for Hermia or thinks maybe there's something more that she could do in her situation? Yeah, somebody else said, have a talk with Demetrius. So these are all very good ideas. So I want you guys to sort of hold on to your advice. And you sort of see throughout the rest of the play, like a lot of these things will kind of pop up. So she'll, probably have a talk with Demetrius. She might run away. Um, she might try to do something else in order to prevent future conflict, and she might give a little bit more time to this whole plan. Um, Somebody else is supporting the running away by saying this, you know, it's probably true that Hermia decided like who her soulmate is, and like running away might be a good idea because you don't want to live with a person that you don't love for your whole life. So yeah, these are all really great thoughts. So I would hold on to this. And then I know we're running out of time, so we'll do a really quick rundown. So for homework, I also assigned Act 1, Scene 2, so I won't be reading this. But just to give a bit of background on this act, so Shakespeare often included what's called a comic foil to the main drama. So for example, in Act 1, Scene 1, four members of Athenian aristocracy, so Hermia, Demetrius, etc., face serious trouble. Hermia and Lysander run off to get married. Helena laments that Demetrius no longer loves her, and Demetrius angrily goes to find Hermia. In Scene 2, the Rude Mechanicals, which is a group of everyday citizens, begins to work on a play. They aren't a very intelligent group, and they keep saying funny things without realizing it. Nick Bottom is a highlight of all this comedy, since he considers himself a first-rate actor. So basically in Scene 2, we have a bunch of actors who are putting on a comedy. We don't have time to answer these questions, but for next time, so this is the homework for the upcoming week, which I'll also post to Google Classroom. But please read Act 2 in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And then in case you guys want the slides, I'll make sure that I'll drop those in the chat right now. Okay, and I will stop share.